They're allowing beards, women can wear pants, no more counting of hours, you can go to college. Has the Watchtower finally caved? With all these unprecedented changes happening so fast, is this the beginning of the end for one of the world's most controlling religions? You ready? Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a critical question that has popped up in the EXJW Reddit community. With all the recent changes in the Watchtower organizations, from beards to pants to no hour requirements, dress codes, college, you can say hi to disfellowship people, has the fight against our harmful practices essentially been won? Are we witnessing the death throes of a high control religion, or is this just window dressing on a fundamentally broken system? We'll examine the victories, expose what's really still happening behind Kingdom Hall doors, and reveal why, despite winning many battles, the war ain't over yet. Keep in mind that although sometimes I quote the Bible as part of my rebuttals, this isn't a faith-based video. For my faith-based content, see the link to my other channel in the video description. First, let's start with what seems like victory. The changes coming from the governing body over the past 2 years have been nothing short of revolutionary by Watchtower standards. That's true. Men can now grow beards, something that would have marked you as spiritually weak just 3 years ago. Women can wear pants to the Kingdom Hall. You don't have to count and report your field service hours anymore. The dress code has been relaxed to the point where you don't need a tie and you really can't tell the difference between witnesses and people going to church. They're even allowing limited greetings of disfellowship people under certain circumstances and have now said it's okay, seemingly, to go to college. For those who have fought these battles over the decades, who were marked as rebellious for questioning why facial hair made someone unfit for privileges in the first place, who watched families torn apart over clothing choices, these changes feel monumental. And a 61-year-old XJW recently posted on Reddit that it feels like the society has, quote, pretty much capitulated on every important issue except blood, end quote. And I get it. When you've been fighting a war for that long and suddenly the enemy starts abandoning positions they once defended to the death, it's tempting to declare victory. But here's the reality check that we need to have here. These changes are cosmetic surgery on a cancer patient. They're rearranging deck chairs in the Titanic. They're putting lipstick on a pig. No, as one reply to that post put it, they're putting lipstick on a bloated, festering pig carcass filled with maggots and flies. Why such harsh language? Because while they're letting brothers grow beards, children are still dying from refused blood transfusions. While sisters can wear pants, families are still being destroyed by shunning. While they've stopped counting hours, they're still counting the bodies of those who've taken their own lives after being cut off from everyone they've ever loved. Let me paint you the real picture of what's happening right now in 2025. Yes, the governing body has made changes, but let's examine why. In Norway, Watchtower was stripped, Jehovah's Witnesses were stripped of their official status as a registered faith community. The Oslo District Court heard 2 weeks of testimony from dozens of people about the psychological violence inflicted through shunning, particularly on baptized minors. We're talking about kids as young as 12 being completely cut off from their families for normal teenage behavior. The court's conclusion was damning. Disfellowship and shunning exist. They cause severe psychological harm, and when applied to minors, they violate fundamental human rights. Within 2 weeks of that decision, the Watchtower suddenly had new light about how to handle discipline for young people. Coincidence? Please. Now, they did win on appeal in March, and the government is taking it to the Supreme Court, but that panicked reaction to the initial loss, that tells you everything about their real motivations. These changes aren't divine revelation, they're damage control. Here's what they're not telling you at the Kingdom Hall. These changes are pure survival instinct. Government pressure, legal defeats, hemorrhaging membership. The organization is bleeding from 1,000 cuts. They're scrambling to stay relevant in an age where their secrets can't stay hidden and their victims won't stay silent. But let's talk about what hasn't changed, because this is where the real fight still continues. Shunning, the nuclear weapon in Watchtower's arsenal of control, remains fully intact. Oh, sure, they've made some minor adjustments. You can now greet a disfellowship person if they're not an apostate or actively promoting wrongdoing, but only if they show up at the Kingdom Hall, basically groveling. But let's decode what that really means. If you leave the organization and speak out about your experience, you're an apostate. If you share why you left on social media, you're promoting wrongdoing. If you tell your story to a journalist or appear in a documentary, you're attacking God's organization. It doesn't matter how true what you're saying is. And the result? Complete and total shutting. Your parents, your children, your lifelong friends, they'll all act as if you died. The psychological impact of this practice cannot be overstated. Mental health professionals who work with XJWs report that virtually every single one experiences depression, anxiety, PTSD, or suicidal ideation. During the Belgium court proceedings against Jehovah's Witnesses for their shunning practices, an advocate for disfellowship former members told the BBC that she had never met a shunned believer, quote, who has not experienced depression, alcoholism, suicidal feelings, or self-harm, end quote. This statement was made in the context of Patrick Hake's landmark case. Hake was a former elder who served for 35 years before being disfellowshipped for exposing sexual abuse within the congregation. This isn't hyperbole. This is documented reality, backed by testimony from dozens of victims who came forward during the court proceedings. And here's the truly insidious part. Watchtower knows exactly what it's doing. The Watchtower has been sued repeatedly over shunning, and their defense is always the same. It's our religious freedom to destroy families. Courts in the United States, in Canada, and other countries have largely agreed, ruling that religious organizations have the right to set their own membership rules. But legal doesn't mean moral, and it certainly doesn't mean harmless. There's plenty of evidence of that. Now let's address the blood issue, because this is literally killing people as we speak. While everyone's celebrating beards and pants, and those are good things, Jehovah's Witnesses are still dying preventable deaths. The exact numbers are unknown because the Watchtower doesn't publish those statistics. I wonder why. But medical professionals estimate that hundreds die each year from refusing blood transfusions. Just a few years ago in Quebec, 2 mothers died within a week of each other from complications that could have been treated with blood transfusions. Merland Cadet was 46. Eloise Dupuis was just 26. Both left behind newborn babies who will never know their mothers. The coroner's report was clear. Refusal of blood transfusions played a key role in their deaths. But it's not just adults making informed decisions. Children are dying too. Dennis Lindbergh was only 14 years old when he died from leukemia after refusing blood transfusions. His parents begged him to accept treatment. The judge who allowed him to refuse said the boy was, quote, giving himself a death sentence, end quote. Hours later, Dennis was dead from a condition with a good survival rate when treated properly. The organization will tell you that these people died faithfully, that they'll be resurrected in paradise. What they won't tell you is that their deaths were very likely preventable, that their interpretation of biblical dietary laws has no basis in medical treatment, and that they've changed their position on blood fractions multiple times, meaning people who died refusing treatments that are now acceptable died for nothing. And then there's the child abuse crisis. While they're making these surface level changes, the Watchtower continues to protect child abusers within their ranks. They maintain a secret database of thousands and thousands of accused abusers that they refuse to turn over to authorities even when they've been court ordered to do so. They paid millions of dollars in fines rather than release this information. Think about that. They would rather pay huge fines than protect children. The two-witness rule remains in effect for their internal judicial process. This means that unless a child's abuse is witnessed by two people, because child abusers always make sure to have an audience, right? The accusation won't be acted upon internally. It's now up to the parent to do something about it alone. The abuser remains in good standing, free to prey on other children, while the victim is often blamed for, quote, bringing reproach on Jehovah's organization. Recent court cases have exposed the depth of this problem. In Montana, a survivor was awarded $35 million before the decision was overturned on appeal due to clergy penitent privilege. But I thought elders weren't clergy. In the UK, the independent inquiry into child sex abuse found serious failings in the Jehovah's Witnesses child protection policies. Yet the organization continues to claim that they have the highest standards for protecting children. Now let's talk about education, because this is where they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. Yes, they have recently softened their stance on higher education, though they don't call it that. They call it additional education. The latest governing body update acknowledges that some may choose to pursue additional secular education. But here's what commonly gets reported by the people inside. Brothers who pursue university education find themselves passed over for privileges. Sisters who go to college are viewed as spiritually weak and less desirable marriage partners. Parents who support their children's educational goals are questioned about their priorities. These are the real experiences regularly shared by current and former members across EXJW forums and support groups. The official policy may have changed, but the culture of anti-intellectualism runs deep. Why the change at all then? Follow the money. The organization is hemorrhaging cash. They sold off Brooklyn properties, laid off thousands of Bethelites, are consolidating kingdom halls worldwide. They need members who can actually afford to donate, and you can't squeeze blood from a stone or money from window washers and janitors barely making minimum wage in a difficult economy. Higher education means higher income, means more donations. It's not about your well-being, it's about their bottom line. Now, let's also address the mental health crisis within the organization. Multiple studies have documented that depression and anxiety rates among Jehovah's Witnesses are significantly higher than the general population at large. A study published in the British Journal of Psychiatry found that witnesses were admitted to psychiatric hospitals at nearly twice the rate of the general population, with particularly high rates of schizophrenia and paranoid disorders. Why these alarming statistics? Well, because living under constant fear of Armageddon, constant guilt about not doing enough, constant surveillance by elders, and constant threat of losing everyone you love if you step out of line, shocker, is psychologically destructive. Yet seeking professional mental health treatment is still looked down on, even if it's not actively discouraged. Therapists are viewed with suspicion. Psychiatrists are seen as worldly influences. Members are told to pray more, study more, preach more. When that doesn't work, because your prayer won't cure your clinical depression, you're blamed for lacking faith. The impact on young people is particularly devastating. Imagine being a doubting teenager in this organization. You're told that your very existence is wrong, that your natural feelings and rational thoughts are from Satan, that acting on them will result in eternal destruction. The normal process of growing up is pathologized. Dating is forbidden unless you're ready for marriage. Normal teenage experimentation is grounds for judicial action. College is discouraged even if technically now allowed. Career ambitions are selfish. The result? Generations of stunted adults who never learned how to make decisions, form healthy relationships, or function in the real world. The organization's treatment of women also remains archaic. Yeah, they can wear pants now. Congratulations on joining the 20th century. Too bad we're quarter of the way through the 21st already. But they still can't hold any position of meaningful responsibility. They're told to be submissive to their husbands, and in the past, often even in cases of abuse. Domestic violence victims have been counseled to be better wives in order to win over their husbands. I remember that. Win them without a word. Divorce is only acceptable on grounds of adultery. Physical abuse? Not enough. Women trapped in abusive marriages are told to endure it for Jehovah, that their suffering will be rewarded in paradise. How many black eyes, broken bones, and destroyed lives is that doctrine responsible for? We have no way of knowing. And even if the abuse is bad enough that the spouse is allowed to leave, which in their actual documentation they say that's true, they can't get remarried unless the abuser cheated on them. They're forced to remain alone quite possibly for the rest of their life. Now you might be thinking, okay, but they're making changes. Isn't that progress? Let me be crystal clear about this. These changes are not reforms. They're not improvements. They're survival tactics. The Watchtower is bleeding members, especially young people. The Pew Research Center found that only 1/3 of those raised as Jehovah's Witnesses remain in the faith as adults. That means 66% leave, giving them the lowest retention rate of any American religious group. They're facing legal challenges worldwide. Belgium, Norway, Russia, countries are recognizing the harmful nature of their practices and taking action. They're facing financial crisis as donations dry up and legal settlements mount. These changes aren't coming from a place of love or concern for the members' well being. They're desperate attempts to stop the bleeding. And here's the most important point. Every cosmetic change they make without addressing the fundamental issues is an insult to every person who suffered under their policies. Every beard grown doesn't bring back the families destroyed over facial hair rules in the past. Every pair of pants worn doesn't heal the women who were made to feel less than for decades. Every hour not counted doesn't restore the childhoods lost to forced evangelism. The Reddit post that sparked this discussion asked if the fight is over. One commenter responded perfectly, quote, "They did not release their captives yet," end quote. That's the heart of it. Until people can leave this organization without losing everything, until families can disagree on religion without being torn apart, until children are protected and blood is no longer forbidden, the fight continues. Think about what victory actually looks like. It's not about beards or pants or hours or college. Victory is when no one has to choose between their authentic self and their family. Victory is when no child dies from a refused blood transfusion. Victory is when abuse survivors get justice instead of silence. Victory is when people can leave without losing everyone they love. That victory has not come yet. What we're seeing now is an organization in crisis mode, making calculated changes to avoid legal consequences and stem membership loss. They're trying to appear less cult-like to governments while maintaining iron control over members' lives. It's a shell game, a bait and switch, a rebranding exercise. A Medium article by a former witness put it perfectly. Quote, "The witnesses are a desperate organization that will keep changing its policies to dodge the legal consequences of court cases and frantically hold on to its members during changing times." End quote. Every change is strategic, calculated, and self-serving. So what do? We keep fighting. We keep speaking out. We keep supporting those trying to leave. We keep exposing the hypocrisy. We keep demanding accountability. We keep telling our stories even when they call us apostates. We keep building communities for those who have lost everything. We keep pushing for legal recognition of religious abuse. We keep protecting vulnerable people from recruitment. The fight isn't just about those of us who've already left. It's about the PMO, physically and mentally out teenagers, sitting in the Kingdom Hall right now, planning their escape. It's about the mother who knows the blood doctrine is wrong, but can't say anything without losing her children. It's about the elder who sees the corruption but feels trapped by decades of investment in that organization. Every voice that speaks out makes it easier for the next person to leave. Every story shared chips away at the organization's credibility. Every legal challenge forces them to account for their actions. Every government that recognizes their harmful practices protects future victims. The Watchtower wants you to think that these surface changes means they're reforming, but don't be fooled. A wolf in sheep's clothing is still a wolf. A cult with relaxed dress codes is still a cult. An organization that destroys families while letting them wear pants is still destroying families. The original poster on Reddit is 61 years old. They've been fighting this fight for decades. I get the exhaustion, the desire to declare victory and move on. But ask any parent who hasn't spoken to their child in years if the fight is over. Ask any abuse survivor still waiting for justice if the fight is over. Ask any PMO teenager counting the days until they can escape if the fight is over. The answer is always the same. Absolutely not. Yes, we've won some battles. The beard battle, the pants battle, the hourly requirement battle, the college battle. These are victories worth celebrating, but they're tactical victories in a strategic war. The Watchtower's fundamental structure of control, manipulation, and abuse remains intact. The weapons they use to keep people trapped, shunning, fear, guilt, isolation, those are still fully operational. What we're witnessing isn't the defeat of a harmful organization, not yet. It's the evolution of one. They're adapting to survive, not reforming to improve. They're changing their image, not their nature. They're rebranding, not repenting. The fight continues because people still suffer. Families are still being destroyed. Children still die. Lives are still being wasted. Dreams are still being crushed. The human cost of this organization's policies continues to mount every single day. But here's the hope. We're winning the information war. The internet has made it impossible for them to control the narrative any longer. Every Google search about Jehovah's Witnesses brings up experiences from ex-members. Every news article about their scandals chips away at their reputation. Every documentary, podcast, and YouTube video exposes their reality. The younger generation isn't buying it anymore. They have access to information their parents never did. They can fact check the governing body in real time. They can connect with ex-members online. They can see the contradictions, the failed predictions, the policy reversals, the hypocrisy of it all. The organization knows this. That's why they're scrambling to appear more mainstream, more reasonable, more flexible. But it's too little too late. The exodus has begun and it's accelerating. The more they change to try to stop it, the more they prove that their previous positions weren't from God, but from men. Every change they make raises questions. If beards are okay now, why weren't they before? If pants are acceptable, why did sisters suffer for wearing them in the past? If education is suddenly fine, why were so many discouraged from pursuing it, wrecking their financial futures? If greeting disfellowship people is now permitted, why were families destroyed for doing it previously? These questions lead to bigger ones. If they were wrong about these things, what else are they wrong about? If these rules weren't from God, are any of them? If they can change their policies, why not blood? Why not shunning? Why not child protection? This is why the fight matters. Every crack in their authority creates space for doubt. Every doubt leads to questions. Every question threatens their control. This is why they're making changes, not because they care about members' well-being, but because they're trying to prevent the questions that lead to people leaving. But the questions are coming anyway. The information's out there. The stories are being told. The truth about the truth is spreading. And once someone sees behind that curtain, once they realize that the governing body is just a bunch of men making it up as they go along, there's no going back. So, no, the fight isn't over, not by a long shot. We're in the middle of it, and honestly, we're winning. Not because of the cosmetic changes they're making, but because of the hearts and minds we are reaching. Every person who wakes up, every family reunited outside the organization, every child protected from indoctrination, that's a real victory. The organization will continue to change, adapt, and evolve to try and survive. They'll make more concessions, relax more rules, rebrand more policies. But as long as they maintain the core practices that destroy lives, shunning, blood prohibition, child endangerment, information control, the fight continues. To everyone still trapped inside, we see you. We're fighting for you. Your doubts are valid. Your questions deserve answers. Your life has value beyond what you can do for the organization. There's a whole community of people who've walked this path ready to support you when you are ready to leave. To everyone who's already out there but still dealing with the aftermath, your pain is real. Your anger is justified. Your grief is valid. Healing takes time. Building a new life takes courage. You're not alone in this journey. To everyone who's lost family to this organization, we're not giving up. We're going to keep fighting until families are reunited, until love trumps doctrine, until no one has to choose between their truth and their loved ones. The question isn't whether the fight is over. The question is, are you ready to join it? Because every voice matters. Every story counts. Every person who stands up to this organization brings us closer to the real victory. Not just cosmetic changes, but fundamental transformation. And I believe that that is coming. The Watchtower wants you to think that resistance is futile, that they're God's organization, that opposing them means opposing God himself. But we know better. We know they're just a bunch of men making up rules, changing those rules when it's convenient, and destroying lives in the process. And so we fight. We fight with truth against their lies. We fight with love against their conditional affection. We fight with freedom against their control, with knowledge against their ignorance, with hope against their fear. The battle isn't over. In many ways, it's really just starting. The organization has shown itself to be vulnerable. Membership is declining, governments are watching, and the world is waking up to who they really are. This is our moment. This is our opportunity. This is our fight. And we're not stopping until every single person is free. So to answer the original question, is the fight over? Have we won? Not yet, but we absolutely will. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to click like, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, and share it with anyone you think it might benefit. And if you're still a Christian, check this out. I wanted to take a moment to tell you about my book, The Broken Mirror, Rediscovering Our True Nature in Christ. Readers call it a fantastic book where you will feel yourself discovering your identity in Christ. One reviewer praised it as 5-star material for the spiritual mystic or group Bible study. It's time to escape legalism and shame. Discover you're already God's beloved child with divine nature flowing through you. With what reviewers describe as excellent writing style and elegant prose, like a campfire discussion with a knowledgeable and gifted raconteur, journey from Genesis to Revelation, uncovering your true identity. This book shows how to access God's peace, wisdom, and strength from within. Your struggles become opportunities for divine light to shine through. Available in hardcover, paperback, Kindle, and audiobook. The link to the book is in the video description. May God bless your journey along his path for you.